Why don't I talk about what I've done?
Okay,
and,
fine.
And because I think it's something that I'm passionate about and I've spent a lot of my time doing. I work with a group called Injaz that I helped set up. I was first chairman and set up the regional board. We have operations in 14 different countries. And I've put 4 million youth through this program. Now there's a sample group done of youth who have gone through this program and not gone through this program. And the ones that have gone through this program, entrepreneurship increased fourfold. And we have regional championships, so all 14 countries come together and we have championships for them. And one thing that I'm really proud to say, and I shouldn't say this because I represent the group overall, but if you look at the Kuwaiti entrepreneurs, you look at the young female Kuwaiti entrepreneurs that come out, and some of the innovations and the ideas they come up with really gives me hope for the future. And gives me hope that this nation has the talent and has what it takes to go forward and not only catch up with our neighbors, but take the lead.
Do you think there's more of a role for, I mean, I know you play an active role in jazz and other things, but I mean, do you think it's an essential part of the corporate and financial environment that they should be promoting, maybe not entrepreneurship, but being actively committed to the education from a young age to mid-20s of the
I
people?
think there's a certain role the private sector can play in that, and I think it's through organizations like Injaz, and there are many other good ones out there, and I just mentioned Injaz because that's the one that I'm in. Also, if you look at what His Highness the Emir has done by setting aside 2 billion KD towards entrepreneurs. And I think we'll all say the execution of that, well, maybe that could be improved in distributing those funds in a better way. I think part of that comes from a culture of failure, fear of failure. And we all want to make sure that every project that gets funded is going to be a success. Well, then we're going to end up with very boring projects. We're going to end up with a lot more restaurants, a lot more real estate, a lot more things that have already been done. But if you look at companies that have changed the world, and you look at companies that have changed the landscape that we sit in today, typically most of those people come from a background of failure and celebrate those failures and look at what they've learned from those failures. Because very often, if you're not pushing the envelope, if you're not trying to innovate, I think we should be, through our entrepreneurship and through the money that's been set aside, celebrate our failures and encourage more risk amongst young people to be able to go out there and take a chance. Will that idea work or not? Well, let's give it a go. And I think that's where you really make a difference.
If you can't take a chance in your 20s, when can you?
Yeah.
And there was a wonderful...
I remember, sorry not to cut you off, I remember when I was in business school, and amongst the last days of business school, a professor came to us and said, you know, it's not who comes back on your 5th year reunion who's going to be the most successful, because he'll probably go get a job with Goldman and do pretty well, and, you know, no disrespect to Goldman.
Yeah, no.
And do pretty well. It's the guy who's going to come back on his 15th year reunion, who would have gone out, failed 4 or 5 times, but then on his 6th time, really have come up with a tremendous idea that really made that change. And that as you go out there into the world, you need to decide, are you the guy that wants to come back and be successful on your 5th reunion? Or are you the guy who's really come back on your 15th reunion and really have changed the world? It actually was 10th, but now I'm coming on my 15th, so I extended it a little bit.
But it's that concept of sort of fail fast and fail lean.
Yeah.
All of these things, and the chairman of IBM once said, you know, the way to double your success rate, double your failure rate. You know, what they call heuristic, which is trial and error.
It's fine. When I review my businesses, we talk about our successes, and then we talk about our failures with my managers. If my managers don't have any failures for that quarter, I'm like, well, why don't you have any failures? Why haven't you been pushing the envelope hard enough? Because that means we're not growing, and it's measured risk. It's going out there and taking risk in a fashion that's controllable and measured. But if you don't push the envelope, you can't grow, you can't innovate.
Yeah. There's a fundamental difference between taking risk, which is an enumerated, quantified, thought-through process, and being reckless, which is just, we'll do it. These are not the same things.
Not at all.
And even with all of the, you take a position on a business with all of the knowledge that you have at that time, and for reasons that may be to do with the business, to do with you, or to do with the exogenous environment, it may fail.
And sometimes luck.
Yeah.
I mean,
luck.
Sometimes, I mean, who knows? Sometimes people just get lucky. It's the right time, right place. It was a great idea, but they just weren't lucky.